of them is really reflecting rather badly. There we go. That's the one. That's the one. Let's see if we can get that out of there. Okay. Hi. I am Susan Morrow Johnson. I may be your friend, or I may be your colleague, or I may be both. Professionally, I'm also known as Mojo Medium, and that's the name of my website, Mojo Medium. And I'm not here really in a real businessy capacity. I just wanted to come and talk to you. So Mojo is not only a riff on my last name, Morrow Johnson, but it also means your essence, kind of like what makes you you, and it also means luck. And excuse me, I think I have a cat hair on my face. I have a cat right here. It's a good kitty. Let's see if she'll let me show her to you. That's a good kitty. You could just see her little orangeness. Yeah, she's in a box because she's a cat. Okay, so thanks to Austin Powers, Mojo also means sex appeal. Woohoo! But I use Mojo because, and this is the truth. I mean, it took me 6 months after I got married and decided to, decided to use my hyphenated name, Morrow Johnson. Hi, Lance. It was 6 months after I got married before I realized, oh yeah, that makes Mojo. J-Lo and whatever. I'm Mojo, all right? Okay. So I started branding with the name Mojo Medium, and somebody saw it on my card and said, Mojo Medium. Oh, so you help people, bring out their mojo. And I was like, no, I have Mojo Medium because I talk to dead people. I'm a medium. But this idea of, hey, Carson, welcome. You might be interested in some of this. Stick around, okay? The business part of it. So I started thinking about that idea, and that was really kind of where the inspiration for me to expand my services and include coaching came from, because somebody said, oh, you're like a coach, as a medium, you help people bring out their mojo. And I was like, oh, you're so clever. But I was not that clever. And so now I am. So I adopted that from someone somewhere. So I want to tell you about a few things real quick. And Carson, I tell you what, since I saw you come on, I will give you this part first so you don't have to wait. And that is that I have a fantastic business coach. She's amazing. I have another business coach, but she's also a life coach, and I'm in a coaching group with her. But my business coach, who I hired, I got into one of her programs 2.5 years ago and have not regretted one bit of it. I mean, she's amazing. And her name is Molly Mahoney. And you'll find her free business page under Molly Mahoney, The Prepared Performer. And she started with that name because her first thing was to help actors and singers and performers. And so she continues with that. And her essential business is to help business owners grow their business using Facebook Live. Here I am, Facebook Live, right? Hey, Shannon, welcome. So I really want to recommend Molly Mahoney, The Prepared Performer, for anyone who owns a business or is thinking about starting a business or is in the launch phase or whatever, because she will really teach you a lot. Not just about Facebook Live, but about Facebook ads and chat bots and speaking engagements and just all kinds of things. Great business strategies. Hold on a second. Needed the nail file. Anytime I get a little hangnail or a little pointy place or something, it just makes me nuts until I fix it. So I hope that I'm competing sufficiently with my husband's loud voice. Excuse me, I'll tell him to be quiet. Don. Okay. He's one of those people who never got over the original cell phones on which you kind of had to yell to be heard. So he puts people on speakerphone and just talks at the top of his lungs. Pretty much always. I may be loud on the phone too. I'm not sure. Okay, so Molly Mahoney, The Prepared Performer. She is a terrific, wonderful, amazing person. She's smart. She's so vivacious. She's this beautiful woman with purple and blue in her hair. And she's actually, I got these glasses in part because she has some that are similar. And I just thought they were so cool that I I got them. So I want to recommend her very much to anyone who has a business. If you have an MLM, Vicky Pruitt Ruiz, I'm talking to you. If you have any kind of cottage craft, Donna Schleback Hyde, or anything like that that you're working on that is a business, Amy Catherine Designs, you will benefit from even from her free stuff on Molly Mahoney, the Prepared Performer. Okay, so that's here on Facebook. And of course, she has a website and landing pages and blah, blah, blah. She's got some terrific programs that are available for a fee as well. And I'm not an affiliate. I'm not getting a kickback for this. She doesn't even know I'm doing it, but I do want to talk about her. My other coach, I find that, I wrote a couple of notes about what I wanted to talk about today. And I didn't even think to write down my other coach, because I kind of think of her as just being like, she's mine. I'm in this coaching group with her. It's a lot of people in the group, but I feel like she's mine, So I will share her with you, but she's mine. And I've known her for years. We were we weren't even really friends back in Austin. We didn't start out that way. She was a client when I was in Austin in like 2005, 2006. And she was, hello, darling. Thank you for being quiet. Appreciate you. So she was a client way, way, way back in the very beginning. And I remember years ago talking to her about she wanted to stop doing the work she was doing and become a coach. And that's what she did. And so now she's a coach and she's wonderful. She's just been through so much. She's very, very real. And she talks about, she wanted to see, could she be, hey, Lynette, welcome. Could she be like a real human being and a leader at the same time? And so she talks about her depression and her anxiety. And she talks about her failures. And she talks about all kinds of things, and she shares really well. Today we had we had a group coaching event on Zoom, just like I do my group coaching on Zoom. And she was talking about, the first thing she said was, how do you identify as a business owner right now? And don't worry, we'll get to the personal stuff in a minute. How do you identify as a business owner? And she said, I realized a while back, she gave an example that she had an identity as a struggling business owner. And she was just sitting out in the backyard, just thinking, watching the dogs, whatever. And she thought, what if I identified as a business owner who has ups and downs, or is a business owner of a business that has ups and downs? Not a struggling business owner, but a successful business owner who, rides the waves. And that really, really, really struck me as very, very important. In fact, I made a little, I already taped it up on the wall, so I'm not going to take it down for you. But I made a little thing. She was saying, look at, what your current identity is and what the identity you want is, and overlay that and bring that into the present. And so I'm changing my identity as a business owner as we speak. So I think that's pretty cool. Okay, what is her name? Her name is Allison Crow, Allison, Crow, Crow, like the black bird. And you can find her here on Facebook. I think she does a lot of stuff on her personal page, so you can follow her personal page. I'm not sure if she has anything that's like a free business page here on Facebook. It may be that the Facebook group is just the paid group. But I definitely recommend her as well. And she has this fantastic monthly coaching group that's just, I'm getting so much out of it. And you get access to this huge library of videos and podcasts and all this stuff that she's done over the years. And I find it all very brilliant and wonderful. So those are my recommendations. Molly Mahoney, the Prepared Performer, and Allison Crow. And Molly is for business owners, and Allison is for both business owners and non-business owners. Okay, like me, Allison attracts a lot of business owners. And so, that's just the way that we roll. It's it's hard to be a coach and run your own business and not feel like sharing that with other business owners, helping other business owners come along. Now, I don't do, in my coaching, I don't do a lot of tech stuff. And what I mean by that is I don't teach a lot of tech stuff or marketing, although it comes in sometimes. I do all of my own. I know all about tech stuff and marketing and quite a bit about social media, but that's not my specialty. I coach people in where they are and where they want to go, and especially in manifesting and just generally making their lives better. All right, on to the personal thing now. So I wanted to talk about alcoholism. Talk to your kids about drugs. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any question? Okay, so I am not an alcoholic, as it turns out. I had a very brief period in my youth when I partied, but it just didn't take. I tried to be an alcoholic. I just don't feel like it. But I could get drunk anytime I want, and that's a joke, because that's the typical alcoholic is like, I can quit anytime I want, right? So I'm actually an adult child of an alcoholic. And since this is on my personal page, I'll tell you that's my dad, not my mom, because some of you know my mom, and I don't want you to think the wrong thing about her or anyone. And, AA stands for Alcoholics Anonymous. So I'm kind of outing my dad, but he generally does not mind that. And I'm talking about my journey at this point. And so I'm not going to talk about his journey, but I'm talking about mine. So as an adult child of an alcoholic, I have been briefly married to a practicing alcoholic, and I've dated some, and I used to always be really attracted to them. The smell of scotch on a man's breath was very sexy to me when I was young. But now I'm married to a man who doesn't drink at all, total teetotaler, and I drink very little. And in fact, when I was on the cruise with my dad and my sister a week or two ago, I discovered that even one drink will turn off my antidepressants like a light switch. And it took me about 36 hours to figure that out. And 12 hours later, I felt great. So virgin pina coladas for me, that's no problem. So I did that. And so I think I probably won't drink anymore either. I like wine, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it to feel like shit for 2 or 3 days afterwards. So anyway, the point is that in all these years of being an adult child of an alcoholic and learning about AA and learning about addiction in general, I find that I'm a pretty good resource for people who love addicts. My stepsister was an alcoholic who died of cirrhosis last year. She died just a few days short of her 60th birthday. And, that was really sad. But we did this project together. She and my dad and I and a few other people, we put together this project. And you can find her on Facebook. You can find her story. It's called, the page is Camp Susan, One Addict's Choice. I think that's what it is. Camp Susan, One Addict's Choice. Or it may be facebook.com/our Camp Susan, because there was already a Camp Susan. And her name's Susan too. So you can look at that and watch her story, which is about 40 minutes. We did a little kind of a documentary kind of interview. And her story is not unusual. She was not able to maintain sobriety. She was not able to stay in recovery. And, and she paid for it with her life. And so she really wanted to talk to young addicts, especially, to be able to get into recovery before it's too late, before it kills them, before it ruins their life, before it ruins their relationships, before it ruins them. And so, learned even more during that whole deal. So the reason I mention this is not only to give you the resource of Camp Susan, the resource of AA and Al-Anon, but the resource of me. I have no problem if you want to. Hi, Susan, welcome. If you want to, message me and say, hey, I have questions about alcoholism or addiction, or I suspect that my husband, son, daughter, mother, whatever, may have a problem with alcohol, and I want to ask you some questions. I'm not an expert, but I know more than most people, so I wanted to let you know that I'm available to you for that. If you want to just send me a private message and I'll talk to you about it. And I will keep your secrets. I don't have any problem with that. Like I said, I was married briefly to a practicing alcoholic. And here's what's interesting about that. I've got a nail file, so I'm using it as like a teacher's pointer. And here on this chart, but anyway, my ex-husband he told me that he quit drinking one time when he was in his early 20s. He quit drinking for a year just to prove to himself that he could do it. He knew he could quit drinking. He didn't need to drink. So it was no problem for him to keep drinking. Well, what I didn't tell him, but what I knew, is that people who are not alcoholics don't have any need to prove to themselves or anyone that they're not alcoholics. Right? Like, if I have a drink, I have a drink. And if I have a glass of wine, I usually leave this much of it. I don't want that much. And on the ship, when I switched to pina coladas without rum, I was just as happy. Because I wasn't drinking it to get drunk. And so that's the difference. That's the big difference. There was a man named John Bradshaw, which you can look up if you want to. Bradshaw was he was kind of an AA guru, but he was also I don't know if he was actually a psychologist. I don't think he had a PhD, but he was a counselor. And he was the one who came up with the inner child. Remember that? Your inner child and your inner parent and your inner adult. And Bradshaw said, people will say, well, isn't it fun being an alcoholic? Hey, you're drunk all the time. It's fun when I'm drunk. Hey, it's great. And he said, yeah, at first it is fun. And then it stops being fun and you can't stop doing it. And I think that's a really, really good definition for all addiction. All addiction. You can apply that not just to alcoholism or drug addiction. You can apply it to overspending, overeating, anything that you get hooked on that is detrimental to you. If you can't stop doing it, or if you think you have to prove you can stop doing it, maybe it's something to look into. Maybe you have a problem. Maybe you should consult with someone who knows about such things. Okay, moving on to happier topics. One more thing today. I wanted to talk about Mercury Retrograde. Now, on my page, I have talked about this a lot. And usually every time Mercury Retrograde comes up, I will at least mention it here or there. And you may have heard of Mercury Retrograde. All right. You know what? I have a sign up here that says slow down. It's yellow, and I drew a little stoplight and did the middle one like slow down. But what that generally means is I'm trying to get cat hair off my nose and stopping to take a sip of water. So anyway, I'm going to try to talk slowly about Mercury Retrograde. One of the reasons I talk fast is that I have a lot to say. All my life, I've had a lot to say, and my mom's the same way. My daughters are the same way. Well, my older daughter is that way. We have a lot to say. We have to get it all out. It's very important. Everything I have to say is really important. And if I don't talk fast, you won't ever get to hear it all. And it's very important for you to hear it. So that is a problem for me. So I'm working on that. Maybe I'm addicted to talking too fast. So Mercury Retrograde. This is an astrology thing. And you don't have to believe in it at all. I'm just going to tell you what it means, and you can take it or leave it. I will tell you, hey, Patty, how are you? I will tell you what a friend of mine years ago said. He was a feng shui practitioner. And again, you can believe in it or not. I don't care. I'm not that into feng shui, actually. I hired an expert one time to feng shui my office for prosperity. And not only did I not like the way it looked because I had, my style in there, but business went immediately after that and didn't recover for years. It was bad. So anyway, maybe that wasn't feng shui's fault. I don't know whose fault it was, but there you go. So let's talk about so my friend who was a feng shui expert, not the one I hired, but somebody else, I told him, my mom says, oh, I don't believe in that. And he said, you know what I tell people like that? I say, well, you can believe in air or not, but you're still breathing it. So, it's kind of like, you could say the same thing about a lot of things, but I'm saying it about astrology. You don't have to believe in it. I don't care. I'm not an astrologist. I have studied it enough for myself to kind of know what it means for me. And I know about this much more than your average person about astrology. So let me tell you about Mercury retrograde. And this may help you in your day-to-day life as things happen and you're like, what the heck is going on? Sometimes I think my whole life is Mercury retrograde. So here's what it means. In astrology, actually in astronomy, when you look at the planets, occasionally it happens that it appears from Earth's point of view, it appears that a planet goes backward in the sky, like switches direction. And it's an optical illusion, and I can't explain it because I don't know that much about it, but it's an optical illusion. And so all the planets can go retrograde. And each planet pertains to certain aspects of life. So when they go retrograde, those aspects are weakened for everybody. It doesn't have to be your sign or not. And okay, that's too complicated. So when Mercury goes retrograde, it happens about 4 times a year for about 3.5 weeks. And right now, we are early in a Mercury retrograde period. It ends, I think, November 20th, and yay. Right before Thanksgiving, that'll be good. We can give thanks for Mercury going direct again. Those are the terms. Mercury retrograde is when it seems to go backward in the sky, and Mercury direct is when it seems to be going back the way that it's supposed to. Hey, Samantha, how are you? So, when Mercury is retrograde, this is what happens. Mercury is the planet, you remember the gods, Roman gods, the Mercury was the messenger god. So Mercury is, I wouldn't say rules or reigns over, but like pertains to or supports messages, communication of all kinds, electronics, travel, contracts, which are part of communications, and big purchases. So during Mercury retrograde, you are advised not to sign a contract, not to accept a new job unless it's for somebody you've worked for before. Contracts mean buying a house or signing a contract for a job or signing a contract for, a freelance job or anything that you would sign a contract for. You're recommended not to. That means real estate transactions. Now, when we bought this house, when my husband and I bought this house, we closed on the house during Mercury retrograde. Now, I was not concerned because here's part of Mercury retrograde. It's okay, like I said, if you're taking a job with someone you've had a job with before and you do it during Mercury retrograde, that's okay. It's even good because Mercury retrograde is also the period when things get worked out, when some things, when wrongs are righted, if that makes sense. So when we bought this house, we closed on it during Mercury retrograde, and I was not concerned. Why? Because, normally you should not close on a house during Mercury retrograde. And yeah, maybe it's just superstition, but why take a chance? So this house, we had actually put an offer on about 3 months before we closed on it. We put an offer on it and it fell through. The owner, we were waiting for the owner to counter offer, and he just accepted someone else's offer and just blew us off. I was so mad. Well, that happened to have been during Mercury retrograde too. So we got blown off with our house offer on this house during Mercury retrograde. And then by the time the next Mercury retrograde period came around, during which time we signed away our lives on this mortgage, the house came back on the market. We made the offer, the owner accepted it, and we bought the house. So that's why I felt okay about closing on a house during Mercury retrograde, because we had worked with this person before. We had offered on this house before. We had tried to buy this before, and then we had our chance to buy it. So everything went great. We've had no problems. Another time, and this is the honest to God truth, hand to God, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I bought a computer during Mercury retrograde. Now, electronics are big no-nos. So are furniture, cars, any big purchase. Like you can go buy office supplies is fine, or clothes. But you don't want to buy anything big and expensive during Mercury retrograde. And the more moving parts something has, the more you should avoid it during Mercury retrograde. So don't buy a car, a train, or a plane, or a boat. Don't buy electronics of any kind. Don't buy a computer during Mercury retrograde. Got a new computer and a new printer during Mercury retrograde, and I had nothing but trouble for the entire 3.5 months until the next Mercury retrograde period. I actually had the computer in the shop once. They fixed it. I had the computer, I knocked it over and cracked the touch screen and the lens, took it back in. They didn't even ship it to their fix-it place. I found out a week later, we don't have a box. What is going on here? So went round and round with that and finally got them to just replace the computer. So that meant in the meantime, I am loading all my old files and programs again and again and again. In the meantime, also, my printer that I had bought at the same time wouldn't accept the ink. It was HP ink, and an HP printer didn't work. Called them, waited online forever and ever and ever on the phone, blah, blah, blah. They sent me a real official HP ink cartridge. Try this one. This has got to work because it's our official one. No, sir, it don't. So eventually I packed it up and sent it back to them, and they sent me a new one. They had to send me a new printer. And I was trying to run a business, and they go, well, we'll ship it to you for free. You'll have it in a week. I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I paid an extra $30 to get it expedited. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. And then, so that went on for 3.5 months. The next Mercury retrograde period, I had gotten the new printer. I had gotten the new computer. Smooth as glass ever since. Smooth as silk. I mean, just no problems at all. So let this be a lesson to you. I mean, this is, take it from me. Maybe it's just superstitious bullshit. Maybe astrology is bullshit, but this happened to me. This really happened to me. And it was very, very obvious. I knew when I bought the computer and printer that Mercury was retrograde, and I blew it off. Okay? So that's when you hear people saying Mercury's retrograde, that's what that means. And here's something else you can do about it. Besides avoiding those things that I talked about, you can right the wrongs, so if there's a miscommunication from 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 18 years ago, this is a time when you can get back together with that person and straighten it out. Okay? Now, communication that's not going back to repair something can go awry. Even just interpersonal communication with your loved ones, people you see at the coffee shop, whatever, miscommunication is very, very easy to happen. My husband and I had a fight just a couple of days ago, and it was stupid, it was pointless, and it was miscommunication. So recognize that. The other thing you can do is just to slow down. If you have car trouble, it's Mercury retrograde, make sure you take your car to someone you've worked with before. Don't take this chance on using a new mechanic, no matter how great he might be or she. So take your car. If it breaks down, take it to somebody you know and trust already, someone you've worked with before. Even if they were the problem, like, well, I took it to this guy 3 months ago and he was supposed to have fixed this and now it's broken again. Go back to the same guy. It'll get fixed this time. Does that make sense? You see where I'm going, okay? Okay. Whew. Hey, Kelly. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you. All right. That's everything on my list. So if you tuned in late, go back and watch the replay and let me know what questions you have. Okay. I'm frozen here. So let me see if I'm still frozen. Hold on. Come on. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I froze up for a minute. Brr. Mercury's retrograde, right? Okay, so I'm going to sign off. I have a new sign off, but I'm going to change it because I haven't quite loved this one yet, but I'm still trying it. And so I want you to think about it and get out there and have a mojo day. See you soon.